The night was damp, the narrow streets of the slum soaked after a sudden downpour. Puddles reflected the flickering yellow lights of broken lamps. A young girl named Alina carried a basket of bread she had just bought for her younger siblings. Life in the slum was never easy. Every day was about survival, and yet, she still carried a heart big enough to help others when no one else would. That evening, as she walked through the alley, she noticed a man collapsed against the wall. At first, she thought it was another drunk. But when she came closer, she saw something different. His suit was expensive, the kind she had only seen in shop windows she could never afford to enter. His wristwatch glittered faintly under the streetlight, easily worth more than her entire neighborhood. But his face was pale, his breathing shallow, and his hand pressed against a wound on his side. Without hesitation, Alina dropped her basket and rushed toward him. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. The man tried to speak but only a whisper came out. "Help, please." Alina had no idea who he was, but she couldn't just leave him there. She pulled his arm over her shoulder, struggling under his weight, and slowly dragged him toward her small home. Her neighbors gave curious stares, some whispering, but no one offered help. In the slum, everyone looked out for themselves. Inside her dim little room, she laid him on the bed she shared with her younger brother. With shaky hands, she cleaned his wound using boiled water and the small medical kit she kept for emergencies. She wasn't a nurse, but she knew enough to stop the bleeding. Hours passed. The man regained consciousness in the middle of the night. His dark eyes blinked open and settled on her. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Alina whispered. "In my home. You were hurt. I helped you." He stared at her for a moment, as if trying to figure out why someone like her, a poor, exhausted girl from the slum, would bother saving a stranger. "Why?" he finally asked. "Because you needed help," she replied simply. He said nothing more, just studied her with an expression she couldn't read. Then he closed his eyes again. The next morning, Alina woke to find the bed empty. Panic rushed through her. Had he left? But then she saw him near the door, standing straight, though still weak. He had left a bundle of cash on the table. "I don't want your money," she said quickly, offended. He looked at her sharply. "Take it. It's nothing compared to what you've done." "I don't need it. My help wasn't for sale." The man seemed taken aback. For a moment, a flicker of respect softened his otherwise cold features. He gave her one last look, then disappeared into the rainy streets. Days turned into weeks. Alina went back to her life, caring for her siblings, working odd jobs, and surviving in the slum. But sometimes, late at night, she thought about the stranger she had saved. She never even asked his name. She didn't know that the man she had helped was none other than Adrian Cole, one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. A man feared in boardrooms, respected in elite circles, and hated by rivals who had likely sent thugs after him that night. Adrian couldn't forget the girl. He had been betrayed, lied to, used for his wealth, but this one poor girl had looked into his eyes and refused his money. She had saved him without asking who he was, without expecting anything in return. He owed her more than just gratitude, he owed her his trust. 1 month later, Alina was hanging laundry outside when a fleet of black cars pulled into the slum. The entire neighborhood stopped and stared. Out of the sleek car stepped Adrian, looking every bit the billionaire he was, tall, sharp, and commanding. Alina froze, the sheet slipping from her hands. It's you." He walked straight toward her. The crowd watched in stunned silence. No one from the slum had ever seen such a man here. Adrian's voice was low but firm. "I've been searching for you. You saved my life, Alina. You remember my name," she whispered, her heart racing. "I could never forget." His eyes softened. "And I didn't come empty-handed." He opened a velvet box. Inside was a diamond ring that sparkled brighter than anything Alina had ever seen. The crowd gasped, but Alina only stepped back, confused. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I'm asking you to come with me," Adrian said. "Not because of what you did for me, but because you're the only one who saw me as a man, not a millionaire. You saved me. Now I want to save you." Tears filled Alina's eyes. She thought about her siblings, about the tiny room she called home, about the life of struggle she had known. Could she trust him? Could she step into a world that wasn't hers? Adrian seemed to read her fear. He lowered his voice and added, "There's something else. A secret I've kept for years. I never trusted anyone enough to share it. But I'll tell you, Alina, because you're the only one who deserves to know." Her lips parted. "What secret?" Adrian smiled faintly, though it carried pain. "I've built everything on my own, but I've never had a family. I'm alone. And when you helped me, when you looked at me without fear or greed, I realized I don't want to be alone anymore." He slipped the ring closer. "I don't just want to repay you. I want to give you a home, a future, in my name." Alina's hands trembled as she looked at him, then at the diamond ring. The entire slum held its breath, waiting for her answer. Finally, tears streamed down her face, and she whispered, "Yes." The crowd erupted in gasps and murmurs, but Adrian didn't care. He took her hand gently and placed the ring on her finger. At that moment, the poor girl from the slum became the woman who held the heart of a millionaire. And as they stood together, Alina realized this wasn't just a fairy tale, it was the beginning of a life she never thought she could have, all because she once chose kindness in the darkness of the slum.